buddies. Thanks for joining me again today. We're going to do a little bit of yoga for upper and lower body. So we're going to start with the upper body. Just first of all, roll the shoulders up, back, and around to distribute some synovial fluid through the joint and keep the cartilage lubricated. You might get some pops and clicks as things start to move. And we're going to start with our index and middle fingers together. We're going to bring our palms parallel to the floor. Here's your inhale and here's your exhale. Now we don't want your hands to go way back behind you because you'll blow out that set of connective tissue on the back end of the elbow. So we always want your tips of your fingers to be in your peripheral vision. If you're looking straight ahead, you should still be able to see your fingertips out of the corner of your eye. And you can take this as fast or as not fast as you like. If you want to get your heart rate up, you can take the breath faster. So your inhale is when the fingers are pointing in towards one another. The exhale is when the fingers are pointing outwards. You want to keep your arms about parallel to the floor so that you're not pulling on your neck. You'll notice that you're feeling this in through here, your pecs and your biceps. You're also using your deltoids to keep your arms lifted. And one of my students named this neurotic flight attendant. So you don't have to sit cross-legged either. That's just how I'm comfortable and how I feel stable. So you can take whatever variation of sitting feels the best to you. Good. Now we're going to bring the same sword fingers to either side of you. So the tips of your fingers will touch on the floor next to you and they'll touch above your head. So you'll notice that the elbows are not moving. You're not doing semaphore and you're not bringing a plane in for a landing. We want this movement to be from the shoulder girdle. Your arms might not touch or your hands might not touch overhead, and that's just fine if you miss. So you're going to squeeze your shoulder blades together. While you're doing this, you're using the muscles in your upper back to support the movement of the arms. You should feel this in lats, traps, and rhomboids. And the next time the arms come up, you're going to bring your arms down like goalposts. The palms face each other. This is lion's breath. Above your forehead, so not way back here over the crown of your head. Above your forehead, you're going to cross your wrists, come back down, cross your wrists the other way, and come back down. So we're never making this movement. Again, that's not good for the ligaments and tendons in the elbow. Just go at your pace. You might need to go a little slower if you have more shoulder issues than most. You might need to come down forward, and that's just fine. Good. And then we're going to take a deltoid pulse. So it's just a gentle pulse. You're not really lifting your arms very much. You're just sort of pulsing or bouncing slightly parallel to the floor. So you're really going to feel this focused more in the deltoids and then even down into the lower parts of the traps and the lats. From the Pilates tradition, a lot of people like to take an energetic breath here, which means that it's sort of a heavy, loud breath, and it's really forceful on the exhale. Good. And we're going to take the hands behind you, so the palms face the ceiling, and then you make little crab claws with your hands so that your fingertips point at the ceiling. You're going to keep your hands as high up behind you as you can. So, it's natural for them to kind of go down here, but you want to keep them as high as you can. Keep your chin parallel to the floor. That's a big one. A lot of people will naturally drop the chin, and that will make your trapezius muscles do the work instead of your triceps, and that's what we're really targeting and aiming for here. And release. So drop one of your shoulders over your opposite knee. And then the other direction. And up back to center. So we're next going to take the geometric leg lifts, the triangles and the rectangles. So you're going to take your hands behind you and lift up with your chest. And that's important because a lot of people will scrunch down here, and that puts a lot of pressure on your spine, and it means that your core isn't doing the work. So we're going to pick up one of your feet, flex it, you're going to kick it out, across, and pull it in. Out, across, and in. So you'll notice that you're making a triangle in the air with the heel of your foot. Keep your chest lifted. So you really feel that your quads, the top part of your thigh, is doing most of the work. Some people, this really bothers their hip flexors, and if that's true for you, you can take your leg a little lower and make your triangles a little smaller. If that doesn't help, this might not be something you want to mess with, because your hip flexors are important and we don't want them to be angry and inflamed. If you can, 10 to 20 times is a good reference point, or 30 seconds each on each side. It doesn't have to be perfect, and I tend to go longer on one side for myself because that's my weaker side and it needs a little more love. So it doesn't have to be exact. You don't have to keep a perfect count. It's fine if you end up doing more on one side than the other, although preferably if you're going to do more on one side, let it be your weak side. So same thing, out, across, and in with the heel of your foot. And now we'll take rectangles. The same thing applies. If you feel like it's pulling on you too much, make a smaller rectangle, or lower to the ground, or just skip it if it's going to bother you too much. So you're going to point your toes straight out in front of you, and you're going to draw a rectangle in the air. Up, over, down, over, up, over, down, over, up. So about 7 on each side, 7 to 10, up, over, down, over, up. The toes pointed and the knee is straight. If you let your knee bend a little bit, that's okay. But if it is getting close to like a 90-degree bend, that's going to pull on your low back, so we don't want that. Keep your knee as straight as you can. Good. And now we're going to come onto the side and we're going to work the adductors and abductors as well as the medius muscle. So you're going to come onto your right side, onto your right forearm, and you're going to take your top leg, in this case your left leg, out parallel to the floor, and you want your foot to be at hip height. So if your foot's down lower than your hip, you're going to really yank on your sacrum. So we can't have that. We need you to be at hip height or above. So you're going to feel this work in through your medius and in through your abductors. Now your foot is flexed and your toes are pointing forward. You can put your arm wherever it's comfortable. You're going to lift your foot higher than hip height, bring it back down to hip height. Some people like to use their bottom leg as a kickstand. They like to sort of pull their heel inward. You are welcome to do that. I find that it adds a little instability to keep the bottom leg straight, and you have to do a little bit more discernible work in the torso to keep from flipping over. But that foot stays flexed. You're really going to feel that right in through here. And then we're going to set your left foot down in front of your right leg. And then you're going to flex your bottom foot, pull in with your belly, and lift your leg. So now you should be feeling the work on the adductor, on the inside of your bottom leg. It's important to work adductors and abductors, the insides and outsides of your leg, because they connect in generally around the hip and the knee area. And a lot of people who have weak knees are really strong in their hamstrings and their quads, on the back and the front of their thigh, but they don't have any support for lateral movement coming from the sides of the thighs. So we don't tend to have a lot of lateral movement in our daily lives anyway, so we tend to need to cultivate it. So especially if you have poor knees, taking these 2 exercises with you is going to make a big difference, hopefully. Good. And now we're just going to spin around and take this on the other side. So we'll start with the leg lift. So again, your legs got to be out at hip height, and then you're going to take it above, back to hip height, never below hip height. Your arm can be wherever it's happy, your foot should be flexed, your bottom foot can be wherever it's happy, but we want you to feel this. You're going to feel it more subtly down the abductor, but you're really going to feel it in the sides of the glutes. And again, this doesn't have to be an exact science. You don't have to lift the same amount of times on each side. We're just trying to get the glutes to fire. And then we'll set this foot down in front. So the bottom foot flexes, pull in with your belly, and lift your leg. So these also help your overall balance and core strength. They'll help you with your stability. Anytime the core needs the limbs to take over some work, you always want the limb to be able to handle whatever the core is giving it. With the arm work, you get your upper back involved, which is part of how you maintain your posture and thus how you maintain your core strength or keep your core engaged. And release. So I have another series of yoga for upper body, and I have a video for lower body, so if you'd like to look at those each individually, those are available on this same channel. See you soon.